Now, back at Star Wars Celebration in April, we had 3 new Star Wars films announced. One being the Dave Filoni film that will be set in the Mandoverse time period, and that will likely be the culmination of everything they've been doing and will be doing with Thrawn. That it will be, for better or worse, a sort of new take on the classic Timothy Zahn Heir to the Empire series. One of the other 2 films then is going to be set 15 years after the sequel trilogy and feature Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order, while the other will be set tens of thousands of years in the past relative to the Skywalker saga, and show us the dawn of the Jedi. It'll take us all the way back to the first Jedi and how they discovered the Force and learned to use it and so on. And ever since these announcements, I've been repeatedly saying that I feel this is all part of a much bigger plan, one that I'll talk more about again in just a bit. That there will absolutely be a connection between the Rey movie, where she'll be using the ancient Jedi texts that she found in The Last Jedi, and be using them as a foundation for her new Jedi Order, and that, let's continue to call it the Dawn of the Jedi movie from James Mangold, where those ancient Jedi texts are almost certainly going to be written, that again, there will be a connection between the 2 films. It almost seems obvious or given. And in a recent interview with Games Radar, Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm, has all but confirmed this connection by saying, "And now Rey has made a promise to Luke, and that's really the core of where we're going and what this story will be." And I think it offers just tremendous opportunity to introduce new characters and start with something fresh. Because we culminated with what George Lucas was creating, and now we take all of that and move it to the next chapter. She then goes on to say, "It was something that Jim Mangold immediately sparked to, and I think it's a really nice compliment to what we're doing with moving into the future with Rey, and then understanding a bit more of where this all came from, because it will be at the heart of creating the new Jedi Order. So to get a real sense of where that might have begun with the Dawn of the Jedi could be pretty cool." Okay, so the reason why I'm personally a little leery, if not fearful, of a link between these 2 films and what Lucasfilm is going to do next with Star Wars on the whole as it moves away from George Lucas and what he's done with it, and what they're going to do with the Jedi in particular, is it almost sounds like the plan is to justify or legitimize changes Rey is going to make with her new Jedi Order, shown in her film, by going back in time and showing in the Dawn of the Jedi film that this is how the first Jedi did it, and they must have got something right, and very right if the Order lasted for so long. And that it only all fell apart, as seen in the prequels, because somewhere along the way, or especially at the very end, what the Jedi believed in, or how they behaved, or the code they followed, must have changed or been different from where it originally was, or how it started, which is then why things went so wrong for the Jedi of the prequel era. Basically, I'm worried that they'll try to say, and I've seen many people make this claim already, that the Jedi as we saw them in the prequels were wrong or flawed, that they had moved away from their very core foundation somewhere along the way, and that now current modern-day Lucasfilm, absent George Lucas, are somehow finally going to show them the right way, or how they were supposed to be all along. And look, I'm not saying the Jedi of the prequel era didn't screw up. They certainly made mistakes which led to their demise. But it wasn't the Jedi way that betrayed them, it was them betraying the Jedi way that led to it, them getting too wrapped up in politics and following the will of the Chancellor and the Senate, rather than simply following the will of the Force as they should, or doing what they instinctively feel is right. I've made the case many, many times before that the purpose of Qui-Gon Jinn in The Phantom Menace, showing him as being sort of at odds with the Council, wasn't to imply he's some kind of gray Jedi who does his own thing just because, as some like to believe, for reasons, because I guess they really like the idea of a renegade Jedi or something. Anyway, Qui-Gon is shown that way because he's acting as a Jedi should. He's only concerned with listening to the will of the Force, which is why he's the one who finds and was meant to train Anakin, and why things go wrong with Anakin when he's trained by Kenobi instead. Because, sure, Obi-Wan was a great Jedi, don't get me wrong, and a lot of that is no doubt thanks to Qui-Gon's teachings, but in the end he still was on the Council. He still followed their ways more than the ways Qui-Gon had taught him, which implies, and I know this will anger some who really love Kenobi, but it does imply that, at least on some level, he did fail Anakin. He didn't train him the way Qui-Gon would have trained him, and we see how that turned out. But I digress here, and my point is that a system can be flawless in design but still fail if the individuals who enact it or carry it out or operate it are flawed or simply don't want to follow the system as intended, or worse yet, try to manipulate and exploit it to suit their needs instead. Meaning not that the Jedi way is necessarily flawless. I'm not making that claim. We can certainly have a debate on some of the finer points when it comes to their rules or their code or how they operate. Only that, again, it didn't fail because it was inherently flawed at its foundation or poor in thought or design, but that I'd argue those who were following it became too dogmatic in some respects and too far detached from it in others. Either way, putting that debate aside for now, it seems like there's a really good chance that Rey is going to learn some things from the first Jedi texts that are very different or very far removed from the Lucas concepts of the Jedi. That it might just change what they are at their very core, by again implying that's how they started, and that they got it right on the first try, and along the way had somewhere lost what they had learned back then. Which might immediately make you ask, why would they even do that? Why would you mess with what's proven to be a winning formula when it comes to the Jedi and Star Wars? And there could be any number of reasons why, one of which being is they feel like the Jedi, as they're supposed to be, as Lucas envisions them, that they aren't, well, they're not the most exciting thing in the world. Especially in the day and age of over-the-top superhero films that showcase characters with truly incredible powers doing amazing things. Simply put, they feel the Jedi, at face value, are nowhere near as exciting as your average superhero in terms of the spectacle they can provide the viewer on screen, which means, from their point of view, less people are interested in seeing them, and hence they make less money. There's also the fact that hard work, discipline, and selflessness, which are core tenets of Star Wars, one of the things it tries to teach or instill in you, the fact that you will fail, but you'll never succeed if you give up after that initial failure, or even after multiple failures. Teaching that didn't seem to be a priority or something they wanted to showcase in the sequels with Rey, which leads me to believe that won't exactly change when she rebuilds the Jedi Order. In other words, the sequels seemed as if they wanted to make other points instead, like showcasing the capability and potential of women, which sure is all well and good. Women are indeed capable of great things, the same as men are, and there's no problem with making that point or showing young girls, or women of all ages, a strong female character to be inspired by. But the thing is, greatness is never a foregone conclusion. Just because you are this doesn't mean you'll automatically achieve that. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean, to be very blunt, that you're going to be good at anything or succeed just because you're a woman, the same as it would be for a man. It's almost certainly going to take a ton of hard work and a few failures along the way before you succeed. And that, again, it's an important lesson to teach to anyone and everyone, and one Star Wars has traditionally shown quite well. For example, Anakin is the chosen one. He is meant to destroy the Sith. It's almost implied to be a foregone conclusion that because he is this, he'll accomplish that. But instead he fails, and he fails mightily. Before, yes, finally, in the end, achieving that after lots of suffering by a great many people, by, in a sense, when he comes back to the light, destroying Vader, and of course, also killing or destroying Sidious, or at least until he somehow returns. But the thing is, many of Anakin's failures along the way, long before he became Darth Vader, he didn't learn from, which led to his ultimate failure of falling to the dark side. There's actually a lot of nuance to the prequels, and there are a lot of lessons to be learned or taken away from those films and the story it told if you want to pay attention. However, the same can't exactly be said about the sequels and what they want to say about, well, it seems to be about women. It's a very blunt and upfront message about women being great because they're women. And yes, women are great because they're women, but it still takes a little more than that to truly achieve greatness. And this is very much at odds with those aforementioned core tenets of Star Wars that center around hard work and success only coming after failure. Basically, these two messages they want to tell, the original Star Wars stories, the ones told by Lucas in the prequels and original trilogy, are at odds or conflict with the message the sequels told. It seems like the sequels were so concerned with telling women, or young girls, that they had the potential to be great, which again is all fine and good, and I agree with, but they were so focused on it that they failed to give them a story that showed how to potentially achieve that, or how difficult it could potentially be. Because for most, if not almost all of us, it will not come automatically. Success in life will not come automatically, or without, again, a great deal of hard work and failures along the way. And this is why I fear potential changes to the Jedi and to Star Wars in general. This is why I'm afraid of them moving beyond George Lucas. One of the reasons I personally enjoy Star Wars is not because of cool space battles and lightsaber fights. I mean, yeah, they're great. I enjoy them, don't get me wrong. But it's not what keeps me a fan. It's the ideals underneath it all that resonate with me. And it was those ideals that, whether intended or just simply a failure on their part, that the sequels missed and why I didn't enjoy them. And though I by no means want to make any sort of final judgment on movies that haven't come out yet, for all we know, the Rey movie and the Dawn of the Jedi movie could be fantastic. I am not giving up hope. But simply put, I have little to no interest in movies that want to keep making a point about something in the modern world instead of touching on or teaching timeless lessons and ideals like the originals did and the prequels did that will always resonate with anyone and everyone who watches them and truly wants to pay attention. That's something more than most modern superhero films that feel more concerned about the spectacle rather than the substance underneath. Well, I think that's all I got for this time. This video felt kind of all over the place, but hopefully it still, for the most part, made sense and you got something out of it. Either way, now it's your turn to tell me what you think about all of this. What do you think about Kennedy and what she said about the connection between the Rey film and the upcoming Dawn of the Jedi film? Whatever you think, do leave a comment below, and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.